Welcome to our Global Voice and Transition series, where we'll be exploring key research findings from AVOXI and Metrigy's annual State of International Voice for the Contact Center report. Each session draws on insights from IT and CX leaders across 10 countries and 16 industries, and we'll explore the trends and challenges that are shaping enterprise voice strategies. I'm Michelle Grenz, Senior Product Marketing Manager at AVOXI, and I'll be moderating our discussion today. Before we get started, let me briefly introduce our expert speakers and their companies. First, we have Barbara Dondiego, our CEO here at AVOXI. Joining Barbara, we have Robin Gareiss, CEO and Principal Analyst for Metrigy. Barbara brings over 25 years of experience in global communications. Under her leadership over the past 9 years, AVOXI has transformed from an international systems integrator to a global enterprise software platform. She has previously held leadership roles at Fairpoint, Earthlink, and Level 3. Robin has more than 25 years of experience advising senior IT executives on how they can transform their businesses. She is also a widely recognized expert with a focus on communications, contact center, and AI. She's a regular speaker at communications events and writes a blog for No Jitter. Barbara, Robin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now, a quick introduction of AVOXI and Metrigy. AVOXI delivers next-generation cloud voice solutions for global businesses. Our software gives companies automation, visibility, and intelligence to manage mission-critical voice communications worldwide. With unmatched service and virtual numbers in 150-plus countries, we serve more than 5,000 enterprises using voice to better serve their customers. Metrigy is a research and advisory firm that helps companies navigate change in workplace collaboration, customer and employee experience, and digital transformation. Backed by in-depth research and analysis, Metrigy provides practical insights and guidance that technology providers and enterprise leaders can use to make smarter decisions and drive results. All right, let's dive in. As I mentioned, today's discussion will just cover data and insights from AVOXI's recent State of International Voice for the Contact Center report, developed in collaboration with Metrigy. The research surveyed 365 voice and telecom decision makers on topics, trends, and challenges in the world of international voice. In today's session, we'll cover one of the biggest shifts happening in global voice right now, artificial intelligence. AI has quickly gone from being a buzzword to being built into everyday voice systems. In fact, our research shows that most organizations are already using it, and the vast majority are measuring real results. We'll look at how companies are putting AI to work in their voice environments, where it's delivering the most impact, and the challenges enterprises are still working through. The real question now isn't whether you'll use AI in voice, it's how ready your systems and providers are to deliver it at scale. Artificial intelligence has become a core capability in modern voice systems, especially in the contact center. Today, 81% of organizations have already AI-enabled their voice environments. What's driving this growth is the ability of AI to lower the cost of each call while also improving efficiency and customer experience, making voice an even more valuable channel. A question for both of you: how does AI change the economics of voice as a customer engagement channel? Robin, why don't you start?
Sure, yeah, I can jump in. When you think about voice, it is definitely the preferred channel for consumers. So as we do consumer-based research, and year after year when we ask this question, that's the way they prefer to communicate, just speaking. But they don't necessarily care anymore. They used to. They don't care anymore if they're talking to a human or an AI agent, as long as their issue gets resolved. So that's changed a lot. I think generative AI has changed the quality of AI voice agents are a lot better now. So if you can appeal to the consumer's desire for voice and also solve their issue using an AI voice agent, you've just reduced cost, potentially improved your CSAT scores or your ratings because you've done it faster, and you've kept your live agents aside for more complex issues that really do need their attention. So I think it drastically changes the economics, for voice as a channel.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's definitely absolutely what we're seeing. I mean, so if you know, about 80+% of the cost of a traditional call center call is the human cost or the agent cost.
That's right.
And so if you can start to reduce that agent cost by answering a portion of the calls with an agent assisted by a machine, so potentially a lower cost agent or just a machine, then you're going to reduce the overall total cost per call. And that allows you to basically allow your customers to call you for a lot cheaper price. And as Robin said, typically a higher customer satisfaction. The other thing that does is that also will increase the amount of voice minutes that you have on your platform, but it's reducing your total agent time. So overall, your cost typically will reduce by a pretty noticeable amount from a contact center perspective.
Mm-hmm. AI voice isn't just about adoption, it's about how companies are implementing it. What we found is that enterprises are taking varied approaches. Some are using modern voice services with native AI built in, others are relying on AI features from their CCaaS platforms, and many are integrating with specialized AI vendors. On the use case side, the top 3 applications are customer self-service, optimized call routing, and real-time agent assistance. These are all areas where AI is delivering measurable impact, helping resolve calls faster, lower those costs, and improve the customer experience. Robin, which of these approaches, whether it's native AI, CCaaS features, third-party integrations, do you see delivering the most flexibility and value long-term?
That is it's a tough one, because I see all of them delivering some value depending upon what you're trying to do. I would say that most companies would like to select one as sort of their primary approach, and then the opportunity to use the other 2, as needed through pre-built integrations, which is more ideal than APIs, but any sort of way to integrate them all. I definitely see just a blending of these approaches. I really can't pick which one I think is better. I just think it offers them. Each one can offer companies their own type of flexibility or speed, that they might need to get these applications up and running, or to be able to, change something on the fly, because, if you're an airline and all of a sudden there's a weather issue, you need to change something that an AI agent is doing or saying, or some sort of workflow, you can do that. And sometimes that might be easier through CCaaS, depending upon what you're doing. Sometimes it's easier on a third-party integration, depending upon where in the world it's located. So it kind of depends. So I don't think that I will say, give you a non-answer in that I don't think there is one approach that is the best in terms of flexibility and long-term value. I think it just depends on what the application is.
Yep.
That makes sense. And Barbara, I have a similar question for you, which is, which one do you think has had the biggest impact so far? Understanding that you probably use them all.
I mean, I actually think from our customers I talk to, the far majority are using the AI built into their CCaaS platform. That's their first proofs of concept. That's an easier, they already have existing contracts and working relationships. So they're using those AI tools initially. Now, what we're seeing now is that they're getting an understanding, and these same use cases for sure that we have here. Now what's happening is they're getting an understanding of how that AI could potentially work in their center now that they're touching it and feeling it, working with it for real. And now they're sort of saying, okay, what pieces might I peel off and go with more of a specialty provider, or more of a specific AI company versus the contact center platform native. And I think that they're going to have to work a while to figure out how to create the best mix. And it really is company by company, depending on the resources they have, their own strategy, their philosophy, where their revenue's coming from, what's the most critical services that they have to deploy. But definitely I'll say that right now, it's really what's in the CCaaS. So our customers that have Five9 or Nice in Contact or Genesys or AWS Connect, all those folks are, their first line is really the AI that's embedded in those systems. And then they're starting to think about, okay, maybe I want to peel off a few things as this matures a little bit.
And one other key point here is really looking at how you get the information to make that decision. You've got to have analytics. You've got to be able to look into your conversations, look into your the results, look into your KPIs. You really have to look at what's happening. Yeah, and your process. Yeah.
Right.
And you need that information to make the decision what to use when, and what's the biggest priority.
Yep.
Great. Good information. All right. Well, one of the most encouraging findings, I think, especially since, in past years, AI has been, more about sort of figuring it out. Where does it fit? One of the most encouraging findings this year in the research was that most enterprises aren't just adopting AI, but they're measuring actual impact. 92% of organizations are actively tracking the outcomes of their AI-enabled voice systems. So this tells us that AI is no longer just about pilots or experiments. It's moving into a results-oriented phase where continuous measurement and optimization will be essential to sustaining that competitive advantage for organizations. Barbara, how are companies measuring success? What metrics matter most for AI for voice?
Well, gosh, I mean, I think there's probably two buckets, right, for my side. One bucket is on your pure, just like you would on your non-AI driven voice calls, your AI voice calls, what's the baseline infrastructure? You know, how's your call quality? Can you hear the person on the other end of the line? Do you have appropriate levels of speed between the calls, making sure you don't have delay? So there's some infrastructure metrics that we always tell companies to look at when they're implementing AI for voice. And then the other one is really your baseline satisfaction metrics, right? So your more traditional, like how many calls do you work through? What's your cost per call? How satisfied are your customers? What's your revenue per call? What's your trends on the revenue? Those core business metrics around is this channel really operating well for you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Robin, what role do you think ongoing optimization is going to play once AI is already deployed in the contact center?
Oh, yeah, you're speaking to me here now. This is so important. I just think we have to always see continuous improvement when it comes to anything we're doing with AI, because when you do that, first of all, you're raising all your business metrics. You're generating more revenue. You're reducing costs. You're improving productivity. You're improving CSAT and all that. But it also helps the people within the companies, whether it's IT or CX, to secure budget for future projects. So once you can prove that you've done something well and you've been successful, you're going to get more budget and be able to continue building on and on and on from that. So I think that that's really important to be able to do, to be able to sort of evangelize what you've done within the company. I also think that AI just gets better and more accurate, and it also adapts to customer behaviors, and that ultimately ends up, ensuring like better behaviors, whether it's a fairness across agents or across sales teams, whether it's making sure something is secure moving forward and continuing to stay secure. There are so many things that we have to do to continually optimize. I look at that as sort of a circular model, right? Like you just keep replaying the same things, and every time it gets better and better and better. So super important.
Yeah, the flywheel, AICX flywheel is going. It really does feel that way. One thing I'll say that I think is interesting, Michelle, is one of my clients told me that there's always certain metrics in call centers, like how quickly you answer the phone, average speed to answer. For a long, long time, call duration was measured, and you wanted to be in the shortest possible call duration. So you want a call duration under 5 minutes or a call duration under 3 minutes. And they're saying that that's being thrown out the window. Because really, if you can get someone on the phone talking, that means they're typically buying, or they're solving a problem that's complex, and you're going to increase your customer satisfaction, you're going to increase your revenue. So with the advent of AI and all these tools, some of these traditional metrics that have been run in call centers for years are being changed, including call duration.
It's totally true. I mean, what we see as far as KPIs now are more things like revenue generated, customer effort score, ROI, like they're really looking at those kind of things rather than the traditional call metrics. But I totally agree with you, Barbara. Our research is supporting that. And I always get a little strange look when I say average, when you use Agent Assist, average handle time is going up more than it's going down now.
That's right.
Because, well, some of it's just a math problem. Some of it's just, okay, well, our shorter calls, the shorter issues are going to AI. So what's left are the longer, more complex things.
The more complex ones.
But what we're really seeing is that, okay, it used to take me 10 minutes to solve a problem. Now it takes me 6 minutes. With that extra 4 minutes, I can do a few things. I can gather more information about that customer to put into their CDP and get, be more personalized next time. But what we really see companies doing a lot is upsell and cross-sell pitches.
That's right.
So now that what would have been a 10-minute call is maybe 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes. Nobody cares, because now you've solved the customer's problem. They're happy and they're spending more money. I mean, it's a great approach, and it's one of the best uses of AI.
That's right. Exactly.
That's great. All right. We've talked about a lot of the positive things. Let's talk a little bit about challenges. So we've seen that AI adoption is widespread. Over 80% of organizations are already using it in some way. But that doesn't mean it's without challenges. Many enterprises are still working through issues with quality of AI output and the security and privacy of voice data. There are also some concerns around integration complexity and even vendor lock-in as AI capabilities become more closely tied to platforms. Barbara, what quality of output was the #1 challenge cited?
Yeah.
Why do you think companies are still struggling to get consistent results from AI in voice?
Well, I mean, I think it's just so new. And you really have to train, your machine agents in a different way, but with as much intensity and purpose as you train your human agents. And so that is a whole different process for our clients. And so they are, and there's these technologies are also very new. So I think that is one thing. The other thing is that you have to make sure that you have the right level of infrastructure for AI, just like you would for a human agent. And so those two things really have to go together. And the last piece, we did some research here at AVOXI around this. You have to make sure that you have the cleanest path possible to give yourself the best infrastructure. So you can't just hang these AI applications off, a system that has like 15 hops to get there or is looping around the world 3 times and hope that that is not going to impact the overall experience, because it will. So I think there's a lot going on there, from the base infrastructure to the routing, to the actual, putting the right information and setting up the right training for the AI agents, because the AI only knows as much as you tell it. Whereas even someone that's a human would know a little bit more than you tell them, right? They have something beyond, they have some kind of experience beyond what you've told them. And I think that's a new challenge for our clients to work with.
Well, Robin, security and privacy were close behind in terms of challenges. What makes voice data especially sensitive in this context?
I mean, I think when you look at voice data, I mean, no matter what, you probably do the same in text, but specifically in voice, when you're talking, you're definitely capturing a lot of sensitive customer details. Some of it may be, you might have to apply some compliance regulations to it, some of it not, but especially like in a healthcare setting, something like that, financial services settings, you can really be talking to someone and giving some sensitive data. So I think it's really, really important, to be able to protect that data. So privacy is important, security is important there. Another thing that strikes me too is when you think about voice biometrics. I mean, a lot of companies, especially in the financial services space, were using voice biometrics. Some have stopped those just because they're concerned about, fraudsters being able to steal your voice print, which is so crazy when you think about all the different, I think there's like 125 different points that go into somebody's voice biometric, right? It's your voice print, basically. So that is, though, something that people are a little bit more concerned about. And I think also, like, if AI doesn't understand something that you're saying properly, it could make like some sort of an invalid assumption and put inaccurate data into your, your CDP or your CRM, whatever, data repository you're using to capture your customers' data. And that could cause problems moving forward. Think about it in the healthcare space. If it puts in something wrong, it could cause problems with medication. It could cause problems with scheduling. It could cause problems with, the advice that you're getting. So there really are quite a few things about, security and privacy that you want to address. Not only could it do something wrong, you could have people coming in and changing things that you're saying as well. So there's just a lot going on there.
Yeah. Well, on that sort of similar note, this is a question for both of you, and maybe Barbara, you can start. How should enterprises balance this desire to innovate with AI while balancing that against the need to maintain trust and security and reliability?
Yeah, I think it's with anything. So it's like it's any kind of change management process, and you have to have a change management process to be able to implement these new technologies. So you have to say, what's the small group I'm going to start with initially? Don't start with everybody. Start with just what's the small group, what's the specific use case, the specific scenario, the one type of customer to start with, and then learn from that in small settings, and then expand it out as you get better at it, versus trying to roll it out to, instead of rolling out a new AI-based reservation center system to 1,000 hotels, try one hotel, iron it out, and then you can expand it out from there. So I think that's really the main thing. And sometimes we've forgotten how to do that a little bit in corporate America, because we're used to these big deployments with timescales, and AI is a very new technology. So being able to start small and perfect it and go out from there is really important.
Totally agree with that, Barbara. I mean, the incremental adoption is something that we actually see in our research too. So, like when we look at our research, we identify a research success group and a non-success group. And the success group, just for oversimplification, but it's like the companies who are kind of doing everything right and they have the data to prove it. They're showing highest measurable success improvements in a variety of areas. And when we look at our success group, it is companies that are doing it exactly like you say, Barbara, like they're doing it almost like a waterfall approach. Let's do one thing and then go to the next and go to the next, prove, figure out, learn from our mistakes. The ones who are in the non-success group, even though a lot of them are the larger companies, they're in the non-success group because they're trying to boil the ocean.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you're not going to see success, at least not for a long time. So I agree with you there. Other things I would just say very quickly, like measure outcomes and adjust based on those findings. I think that's very important. I talked about that, like the analytics side of things. Even more specifically, I love the area of conversation analytics these days. So really getting into a conversation, whether it's a voice conversation or a textual conversation, and pulling out meaningful data from that. What were the main topics this week? How quickly did we solve problems? Was it by an AI agent or a human agent? All sorts of things you can pull from those. And I think it really is important to partner with companies who are going to give you a lot of what you need to hedge against that security and reliability. So what kind of transparency can they give you over their platform? What kind of security are they going to guarantee for you? What kind of flexibility are you going to have to change things? I do think that's really important to make AI successful.
Great.
Agree.
All right, as we close out for today's session, I'm going to sum up what we talked about, which is really that AI is no longer just experimental. It's already embedded in most enterprise voice systems. The majority are actively measuring results, and that means the conversation shifts from if to how enterprises prepare their voice environments to support AI. And success will depend heavily on choosing providers with the right foundation, quality, coverage, integrations, reliability. So I'll ask you now, each of you, do you have any parting thoughts or words of wisdom on recommendations or implications for a voice strategy?
I mean, I guess I would just say the best thing to do is get started, because it's coming. Like, this train is coming. It is coming. It is coming faster than we've seen probably any major technology shift since maybe the start of the internet. It is coming down the line. It's going to change how businesses is running across many fields, but particularly in customer service. So I would say if you haven't gotten started, find a way to get started. If you're in mid-process, make sure you're measuring that and you're leaning into that and you're continuing to optimize, because it's going to become your competitive advantage. It truly is, for those that really adopt this well.
I totally agree with that, and also, address those issues like we were talking about with, voice quality, latency. You've got to address those. You've got to test those. I know that they seem like table stakes, but when you start going out globally, they are not. So you need to make sure that that's addressed. Poor quality and choppy robotic sounds are really going to make AI voice fail. And keep in mind, AI. If you're looking at AI, a lot of people look at just chat bots. If you're looking at AI. In our consumer research, voice AI agents are much more preferred over text AI agents. So that's been a big shift just in the last year. I think generative AI has made voice so much better, like I said. So I think really make sure you're focusing on that voice side of things, because that's what your consumers actually do prefer. And like I said, I'll say it again, I think metrics, measurements, analytics, very, very important. Make sure you're always testing and revising and making things better.
Agree.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both. I think we're going to wrap up today's session. I'd like to thank both Robin and Barbara for your insights today. Thanks to our listeners for your time, and feel free to reach out with any questions or for more information about the research. And don't forget to check out the other videos in this series where we'll explore the data around topics including the most persistent international voice challenges and deployment models for CCAS and UCAS. See you next time.